I won over $5,000 for in court after a car accident that I caused. Okay, so just a little bit of info before I get into the story. Also sorry this might get a little long, but I hope it's worth it. I 22M work construction and run a few crews, and I'm a foreman because I've been working in this field since I started working summers when I was 14. That's legal in my state. With this being said, I have a lot of experience and get paid really well. For my job I need a truck that can pull a lot of trailers and also get into a lot of sketchy job sites, especially in the winter, so I drive a new lifted pickup F350. Anyways, let's get into it. So about 4 months ago now, I got off work one day and just really didn't feel like making dinner. So I decided to go get myself the trusty Big Mac at McDonald's. Well, after I got my order, I was going to pull out into the parking lot to drive home, and I was looking hard over to my left to see how busy the road was before I got over there. Well, I wasn't paying great attention to what was happening in front of me, and as I was creeping forward, someone who was in front of me was stopped and not paying attention either. I ended up barely hitting his mirror and scraping his door with my front end. I immediately reversed and hopped out. I made sure the guy was okay and apologized, knowing it was my fault, and I asked him if he wanted to call the cops. Let's call him Brent. Brent says, "Nah bro, we are all good. If you just get me your insurance info, I think we can get this taken care of." I was fine with that as there was no damage done to my truck, and it's not required to call the cops for an accident if it occurs in a private parking lot. This is relevant later. We exchange info and he seems pretty cool, so I tell him to go get the damage bit and he'll just pay in cash so my insurance rates don't go up as long as he's okay with it. He says that's fine and we both just leave, and I feel like a moron, but all in all Brent seems like a cool dude and I just hope we can get it sorted out smoothly. About a month passes by and I haven't heard anything from Brent or the shop I told him to go to. Honestly, I wasn't too stressed about this because if he decided to not get it done, that's on him. Well, he calls me up one day at about noon saying he can't remember my name and he wanted to tell the guys at the shop who sent him there cause it seemed like we knew each other. I told him my name and the guys at the shop gave him a deal. Pretty sure they say this to everyone, lol. He sends me the bid for damages and it comes out to $2,403. This was more than I imagined, but I said to get it done and it'd take care of the bill afterward, and that was that. He hung up, said it was cool, and I went on with my day as usual. Another month goes by and I don't hear anything until Brent calls me up while I'm at work again and says, "Hey brother, I talked to the shop and they said they can't get me in for another 2 weeks or so, and they may end up charging me more if they find more damage." I say, "Okay, sounds good, just let me know man. I hope it goes smooth for you and I'm sorry for the inconvenience." He seems to take it good and I'm really trying to just be a good person. He responds with, "Well, after talking to my wife, I'm okay if you just wanted to write a check for $2,500 and we can call it even." This seemed odd to me because why the hell wouldn't someone want their vehicle repairs all paid for? I say, "Okay man, let's set a time and place to meet and he'll get you paid." He liked the idea and ended the call by telling me he would let me know. Yet another month passes by and I hear nothing again. At this point I'm getting fed up and just want this situation to stop being over my head. He hits me up at 11 p.m. one night and asks if we can meet in town. I found this kind of disrespectful because I was nearly asleep and had to be at work at 5 a.m. the next day. Either way, I said that was fine and took my $2,500 cash and wrote up a quick contract saying this payment would be accepted as payment in full for the damages, and by accepting it, it would release me from any and all liability. This was a pretty fair contract, I believe, as it was the deal we had already made over the phone, just in writing. I get to the place we suggested as a meet-up spot. I give him the cash and he signs the contract without hardly even reading it, and he didn't want the copy. This was a red flag to me, but I just assumed he really didn't care about it all that much, so I just sent him the photo of the contract and go back home for some beauty sleep. As you can guess by now, another ducking month goes by with me just living life carefree and not a worry in the world about this stupid car accident. Well, I go to check my mail and I have a notice from this guy's lawyer that he is suing me for not paying after wrecking his car. This pissed me off, but I also knew I had plenty of text messages and a contract on my side. I immediately call Brent and he blocks my number. Luckily enough, my girlfriend works for a lawyer, so I get him updated and he says he'd love to help. He lets me know I saved my ass by writing that contract as any contract worth over $500 is to be held up in any level court in my state. I immediately get to work on my revenge. I remember on the side of this guy's car he had a business logo, and I took pictures of the damage, so I hop online and get to the BBB to look up who owns this company, thinking that surely he couldn't own the business because he is such an idiot. I was wrong. This guy owns the company, and I can see that he has about 12 one-star reviews, all in dispute because of his shady business practices, telling people it will cost one thing and then charging them 4 times what he said it would. Sound familiar? Remember when he said the shop may charge more than the original $2,403? That's right, he was suing me for $10,000. 4 times what the shop told him it would cost. Unbelievable. He was trying his same sneaky asset on me. My lawyer takes note of this and we show up to court ready for war. This guy is easy. As we get there and all set up, he says, "You ready to give me more of daddy's money?" With a smirk. I guess just cause I'm young and drive a nice truck and could afford $2,500 lol. His lawyer gets up and starts trying to say BS from me hitting and running, and Brent barely got a picture of my license plate. I tried bullying him into taking a deal for only $2,500 when the damage was clearly more than that. There were obvious holes in his story and he really didn't have much to say. Just imagine the smile on my face as my lawyer lays out the printouts of our text messages and the physical copy of the contract, which was signed by Brent. His lawyer was ghostly white and looked sick. After laying out all of the evidence, my lawyer pulled out a little hidden gem, the printouts of all the complaints we found on the BBB and how he was doing the same thing to me. That was the final nail in the coffin, as the judge said he had seen enough. He asked Brent for any final statements and Brent said, "I don't even have the $2,500 anymore, can I just get that then and we will be okay?" Literally admitting to the judge that he had received my money and his story was just a load of horse shit. I thought his lawyer was gonna strangle him. It was beautiful. The judge ended up ruling in my favor and demanded him to pay my legal fees as well as damages and lost wages because I had to miss work to be in court. The absolute sweetest part was that this particular day my crew was on a very high wage job and I was technically the one getting paid before I paid them out as subcontractors. This means I was to be paid $475 an hour, and this whole ordeal took about 5 hours. He ended up having to pay me almost $5,000. I don't think I've ever been so happy in my life. It was so long I just really felt the need to share. Thank you to anyone who made it this far. Redditor's reaction. Story 2 after. Redditor 1, love it. Did you get paid a lump sum, or did he have to set up a payment plan? Lol. Redditor 2, me and my buddy were at the bar one night and he tapped a car coming out of his spot. Super small mark on the car, and the owner agrees to not call the cops. They initially wanted to fight, but got over that pretty quick. My buddy said to just give him the bill and he'd take care of it. Couple days goes by and the guy says they got lucky. It's just gonna be a small paint touch up, should only cost a couple hundred. My buddy meets up with him and gives him cash. A week goes by and the guy calls and says they discovered the whole bumper is cracked, so it's gonna be another $500. My buddy shows up, gives the guy the money. A couple more days and my buddy gets a call saying the frame is bent and it's gonna be a couple grand. I tell him not to answer the phone anymore. This dude is obviously shaking him down. He wasn't even hitting the gas when he hit the car. We were doing maybe 1 mile per hour. There's no way he caused any real damage. Dude called him a few times but eventually gave up. Redditor follow-up. The next call, now you're in real trouble. Turns out I died and you have a wrongful death suite on your hands. Story 2, made my ex-boss lost $25,000 on his salary. I used to work at a Wendy's as a manager. It was already a crappy job, but my general manager was nice, and most employees were easy to deal with. All this started when I was already working till the 65 hours week. I was offered a $100 bonus to work one of my only days off. I decided to do it, and later that week, before I had even been paid, I was asked to come in again. I said this time I would like $150, as at this point I had worked almost 23 days without any days off. They said they'd do it, so when I went. Cut forward 3 weeks, I've been asking about my money for a while now. I am told by my general manager that I could speak to my district manager as he would be in later that night. The conversation goes like me. Hey, do you know what's going on with the bonus? I'm owed $250 with both the day's district manager. Well, that's why I came here. The store has been having trouble making money. So, basically he's telling me that my performance isn't good enough. At this point I'm working dinner rush and the whole night with me and 3 others, my GF, best friend and other friend that has grown close. District manager, your shift isn't making as much money as others, and your drive time is higher me. Well, we are doing all we can. It takes extra time when we only have half the number of people with the same amount of customers. District manager, that's really no excuse. Me, when am I going to receive my bonus? My DM was a very sheepish man pussy, so he is very obviously scared when he tells me this. District manager, we cannot give you a bonus until the revenue rises and drive time goes down. I am speechless at this point. The rest of the conversation was a blur. I grew up on the south side, you didn't mess with people's money. A day passes, I've had time to collect myself and speak to my entire crew. Everyone agrees to walk out with me. So I call my district manager. The phone starts to ring but then it cuts off. He declined my call. So I called him again, and again and again. Finally I just leave him a voicemail. Me, look, Jacob, you need to talk to me. You have until 8:45 to call me back or all of night crew is done. At this point it is 7:30. I go into my office and start watching my boss's email. She leaves it open and logged in. I figured he would probably email her before calling me. Around 20 minutes of watching this email, and boom! An email pops up. Emergency Lonnie. This idiot put my name on the email. So of course I read it. Long story short, in the email, it was him trying to make sure my general manager was going to be ready to go to work. AKA, he wasn't going to call me or give me my money, so I get all my people together and we walk out leaving everything out, all the meat, all the toppings, the fryer. Everything. The next day I turn in my keys. About a week later I'm called by my brother. Me, what's up? Brother, Jacob lost all of his stores. He has to go back to Indiana. My brother worked at the store as well. If you don't know, district managers' pay is based on the amount of stores they have and how much they make. When he moved to Indiana his wages got reduced for $65,000 to around $40,000. All this for $250. Redditor's reaction. Story 3 after. Redditor 1, that was super tasty. Thanks for sharing. Redditor 2, looks like Jacob doesn't know how to listen. You said in your voicemail all of night crew would be walking out and it sounded like he thought he'd only have to send in your GM to cover the shift. If he wasn't satisfied with the numbers that a shift manned by 4 people did, what the hell did he expect to do with a shift manned entirely by 1 person? What Jacob should have done was pay you what was promised out of his own pocket. Now he gets to not only enjoy going back to the middle of what sounds like bumfuck nowhere, but he gets to do with a pay cut. The fact you got an entire shift who liked your management style enough to put up with not having as many people staffing the joint to join you in a total walkout, which I imagine if they hadn't been willing, you wouldn't have screwed them that night. By the sound of it, Jacob killed a golden goose and basically screwed himself. I do so love happy endings where the bad guy gets hosed by his own folly. Makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Redditor follow-up, Jacob wouldn't even need to pay the bonus from his own pocket. It's biggest lie that I have ever heard that a big firm like Wendy's doesn't have $250 to spare. This is just the good old tale of me, duck everyone else and how it doesn't work. Story 3, so I recently had a run-in with UPS. I posted this to Petty Revenge but it got removed and I was told to post it here. Enjoy. UPS smashed a nearly new MacBook that I sent with them. I asked them nicely to pay me back for it and they asked about blaming me, blaming my packaging, saying it was impossible, they damaged it, etc. I was able to prove my packaging was flawless and get a statement from the Apple shop that I took it to say it was damage caused by being drop thrown. I could also prove it worked when I sent it. They weren't interested and messed me about for weeks, sending me from pillar to post, even threatening to make me pay interest on customs charges which I wasn't liable for as the laptop was smashed on arrival and thus worthless at import. I took it to small claims. They hired a lawyer who sent me letters saying they contested it and would go for full fees etc. if I lost. I went for it anyway. I did law stuff university, so I knew the basics and I thought my case was pretty clear cut. I won. I won my costs back, plus extra, plus interest. They ignored the court order and did not pay. Now, this laptop was originally being sent to my beloved mother-in-law. She asked me to help her with the problem as UPS were also seriously harassing her for the customs fees. However, very unexpectedly, before I could resolve it, she passed away. It was the last thing she ever asked me to do for her. I loved that woman more than pretty much any human on this planet. She was my mother, my best friend and my mentor. Taking down UPS was now my personal vendetta. I researched my options. I could have taken the usual more conservative legal routes to reclaim my money. But no. Duck them. I don't care about the money anymore. I want revenge, I want drama, I want karmic justice. I went to the High Court. I got a writ of control. I, of course, added on more fees and more interest. I then hired the most aggressive bailiff firm in London. I trusted that the city processes and attitude of UPS to mean they would ignore the letters and actually get a visit. They did. The bailiffs rock up at UPS headquarters and explain the situation. UPS refused to pay, so the bailiffs start listing goods. Security try to make them leave. The office manager tries to bully them out. Obviously no assets are given by the bailiffs and they crack on with their jobs. I wasn't allowed the body cam footage, but they did send me a detailed report. The final conclusion is copied from it below. Calls were then made to the accounts manager, who arrived in a hurry. As no payment was forthcoming from them, the agent again explained the removal process and costs involved and called the office for approval to begin removals. The agent began to seize assets. The finance director then arrived on the scene. He was not at all happy about the attendance, but ultimately agreed to pay a voluntary payment in full from his personal account in order to stop the removal. I know it's a drop in the ocean to UPS, but I got more than double what I originally asked for to replace the laptop. They would have had to pay even more on top in fees to the bailiffs. I reckon it cost them at least 3x more than the original claim in the end. But mostly I just enjoy the mental image of the flustered finance director and his impotent rage, having to pay his own money to stop the heavies taking desktop computers and fancy pot plants and things out of their swanky head office lobby. Edit, this blew up. Thanks for all the awards, I can't keep up with them, but don't spend real money on me. I have no idea what it does. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, fantastic. Well played. That body cam footage would have been priceless. Redditor 2, this is great. I did similar to Southern Council. They put 2 penalty notices on my motorbike, which was parked in a pay and display bay with a ticket displayed in a second tax disc holder. So legally parked. The first notice blew away, didn't know about it. I got the second and appealed with pictures of the ticket displayed and proof I was legally parked. Then I got a summons for the ticket that blew away. I had to go to court to explain the situation. It's illegal to put 2 penalty notices on one vehicle if it hasn't moved. It still took the council over 9 months of fighting to cancel both tickets, and wasn't the first time I'd been through this process with other councils, so I invoiced them for my time. And when they didn't pay for my wasted time, I think the invoice was for £250 in 2007, I took them to the small claims court and won. I had to threaten to send in the bailiffs, but I got paid in the end. Redditor 3, what's most disgusting is that UPS as a company still didn't pay. The finance director shouldn't have had to pay from his personal account. Redditor 4, I took an airline to small claims 3 years ago. They ignored absolutely all correspondence, even registered mail from the court. And I ended up with a default judgment in my favor. I also had to send a bailiff to get my money, which played out in a similar way to this story. Very satisfying conclusion. I had considered trying to have the bailiff seize an airplane, but figured that was too much work. In the end, just threatening to walk away with their office equipment was enough. Redditor follow-up, the bailiffs can seize what they want. I think if they get the plane's logbook, It can't take off, and it's a bit easier to store than the plane.